Yes, people, what is going on? Porto 2, Juventus 1. A game that I thought was going to end very differently when the game kicked off. And in the first minute, it was madness pretty much right away from the word go. Then in the first minute of the second half, it was even more madness. And then Juventus keep themselves alive. They keep themselves alive with an absolutely crucial away goal in Portugal, and it really sets the second leg up nicely for a really good game of football. Ronaldo, of course, coming home to Portugal. Is he going to be able to deal with the big occasion? All the headlines, all the stories are all about him. But it's decorated whichever way you want. Juventus were very poor. They were very, very poor. So it really does not surprise me at all that the game has finished how it was, how it has. But neither side will be happy with how the final outcome has panned out. I mean, obviously, Porto 2-0 up. If they'd have kept a clean sheet, all they would have had to have done is go to Turin and score once, and they pretty much would have been through. They'd have had to conceded 4 goals at that point. Now it's a case of Juve can win 1-0 and the game is in their hands because of course scored the away goal. But both these teams defend very well, and I was really impressed by that today. Although the goals come in weird circumstances, they did hold decent defensive lines, and they did have it was decent from a very tough game point of view, if that makes any sort of sense. I don't know if I'm making sense at all, but it was a really good game of football, really enjoyable game of football to watch. The other game had more goals. Let me just very quickly cover that before we go into our game. Red Bull Leipzig. Sevilla 2, Borussia Dortmund 3. A lot of the goals came in the first half, and then Luke de Jong got one back for Sevilla in the second half. So keeps that one alive. Still probably fancy Dortmund to go through. But yeah, that was a decent game of football. Kind of had both on at the same time, but mainly watching the Porto game because I was doing this review. Yeah, it was a little bit strange. I mean, the absolute shambles it was for the first goal, conceded in 61 seconds. It's got down here that it was 2 minutes. It wasn't. It was 61 seconds that Juventus went 1-0 down. And it was just sloppy. And to be honest, I'm a Chelsea fan. If you don't know this and you're new, make sure you subscribe if you are new around here. I'm a Chelsea fan. And I see the same thing with Chelsea all the time, is that we want to play out from the back. And sometimes we get the keeper unnecessarily involved for no reason. If you cause yourselves problems from passing out from the back, then decent players are going to be able to gamble and counter on those mistakes. And that is exactly what happened today. I like playing out from the back. I understand the possession-based game, and of course, Juve, that will be what they'll try and do. They are the better side, so they can believe they can break Porto down, and they did eventually, but I mean, obviously not in the way that they would like to have done. I think if they'd have scored twice in this game, it pretty much would have been done and dusted for Porto. No discredit to them. I just think that's the way that it goes, unfortunately. But yeah, freak errors. Who's at fault? Is it the centre half? Bentancur, is it? So many different people you could blame for it. It's a crap goal. It really is a crap goal. And then the second one, Musa Magera, literally start of the second half. Again, inside the first minute of the second half, it was just a really good run. It really was a really good run. And it kind of panned out a little bit better than I think even he was expecting. It was finished near post against Wojciech Szczesny, who was a bit of a weird one, because when you saw him playing at Arsenal, you would not have had him being at Juventus all these years later, especially with Buffon still being around. But it was a really good goal, to be fair. Give credit where it's due. Let's just go through some stats before we go through the consolation. Well, I say consolation. It's not a consolation goal. It's a bit more than that. It keeps a tie alive from Juve. But before we go into that, let's look at some stats. 12 shots for Juve, 8 for Porto, 5 on target for both teams. And look at this. Possession, 34% for Porto, yet they won the game. And for Juventus, 66% possession. Nuts. Absolutely nuts. And Porto, for me, were the better side. Juve were crap. Truthfully, they had a handful of nice players, and Ronaldo didn't exactly have a poor game, but it'd be poor by his standards, if you know what I mean. But he wasn't bad. It was just, a lot of other people around him. If you don't get him the ball, he can't necessarily do the magic that he does. They struggled to get him the ball. They struggled to find him in decent areas. I generally don't think, off the top of my head, did he actually have a shot on target, Ronaldo, truthfully. yeah, nothing springs to mind. I might be missing something really obvious, but nothing springs to mind about the chances that he had. He didn't really have an impact today. Not his fault. Again, you've got to get him the ball. He can't win it, run the length of the pitch, run around everyone and score it. You know, he can do it, but he can't do it on every single game, like I think a lot of people want him to. Last night, obviously, Lionel Messi got smashed by Paris Saint-Germain, and it had the potential for this game to be the same way. I think if Porto would have managed to get the third goal and would have actually won 3-0, then that would have been done and dusted, both of those teams out from that pot, and that which was pretty much the group of death, that pot, when it came through in the qualifying... when it came through in the group stage. That's what I'm looking for, group stage. But yeah, no, it didn't really wow me. Do you know what I mean? It was just a bit kind of, well, okay, it is what it is. Yeah, it was okay. Federico, never get his name right. Federico Chiesa got the consolation goal. Yeah, got the consolation goal for Juve in the 82nd minute. It was a decent move. He popped up in the right place at the right time, as a kind of wider player would do. Middle of the box, just tucked it home. Not tucked it home, but yeah, found a bottom corner and did what needed to be done. But it didn't really wow me. It didn't really make me go, oh, this is a must-watch game of football. It wasn't, you know, absolutely insane. But yeah, it was... yeah, it was just a bit nuts. Medi's also scored the first goal, I should have said. I just seen it pop up in here. I can't remember if I said it or not. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't look at Juve and think that they were Champions League winners, truthfully. I didn't look at Porto and think they're going to be Champions League winners. But I looked at Porto and thought they would cause more problems to more teams than Juve would, which is nuts, of course, because Juve have got the stars and everything that goes with it. They were massive favourites for this game today, and they did not show up at all. Partially because of how they played and the style that they played, partially because of who played as well. This is what always gets overlooked. The personnel have to step up, and they didn't do that today for me, for Juve. So yeah, no, I think 2-1's a fair result. I think truthfully, if it had been 2-0, it probably would have been fairer. But Juve have managed to keep themselves alive, and they'll probably scrape through now, knowing them, being at home and whatever. But Porto, I mean, they'll be fuming that they conceded the late goal. If they win 2-0, then they are absolutely buzzing, over the moon completely. But that's not to be the case. That's not to be the case. Yeah, there's nothing else I've really missed. You know, it was a decent game of football. You know, it wasn't a wow. What they're saying here is, oh, this is the first goal. It's just poor. It's just shocking, honestly. Yeah, it's just goalkeeper. Who wanted it? Who's going to grab it? You know, it just lacked conviction for me, and that's what they do all the time. Bentancur didn't. He checks his shoulder, but then doesn't look at anyone else. He takes a poor touch. It's just crap, and that sets the tone from the first minute. And Juve were just, yeah, they really weren't at the races, and people are saying that they can win the whole thing. I mean, Bayern Munich would muller them. They would absolutely muller them, no pun intended. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on the game. If you're new around here, make sure you like, share and subscribe. Yeah, a lot of people were criticising Messi last night. No one's going to criticise Ronaldo tonight. That's the difference in certain personnel. Neither of them should have been criticised for either team's performance over the last two games, but just shows that world football is not the way it used to be anymore. And although Juve will probably go through, you can't put it all in one person. But anyway, thank you for watching. If you're new around here, make sure you like, share and subscribe. I'll see you back here for loads more content coming up very, very soon. Champions League stuff, of course, Chelsea in action over the weekend, and of course with Atletico Madrid next week as well. So make sure you stay tuned, and I will see you later.